Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The new coming-of-age film Suncoast drops on Hulu today after premiering last month at Sundance. I spoke to writer-director Chinn about basing the film on her own life story, as well as working with talented rising star Nico Parker and renowned screen veterans like Laura Linney and Woody Harrelson. Hey, Chinn. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We are here because you're the director of the new film Suncoast, which drops today on Hulu. I just watched it this morning, and I was tearing up in a couple, laughed in other parts. It kind of runs the gamut. But why don't we tell the audience our audience the basic premise of this coming of age story that also deals with some pretty heavy right to life Terry Schiavo kind of themes.
Yeah. There's a lot of different themes in the movie. It is the coming of age story. It's a dramedy, but we really tried to keep it light. We really tried to make it buoyant and have comedy and have it be a movie that you walk away feeling good at the end. So it's based on my experience. My brother was in hospice with Terry Schiavo in 2005 when I was 18, and he passed away there a few days after she did. And so it was based on that. And but it's funny. It's funny. I try to tell people, I'm like, there's comedy, so it's not a movie. You don't have to dread watching it.
Yeah, I know. It's such a hard line to walk, both I'm sure making it
Yeah.
and then also doing these interviews too, because I have to say, I'm so sorry for your loss of your brother Max, and it was wonderful to see a photo of him at the end, in memory of your brother Max. So before we dive into the movie, share, I want to know what was Max like in real life? Let's give him a moment in this interview. You know
Oh
what I
my God,
mean?
I love this question. What a great question. My brother, well, he got sick when he was 16, so he was very young. So he hadn't fully developed, a full self yet by the time he passed away. But before he was sick, he was a skateboarder, super athletic, a gymnast. He was on a gymnastics team. He was just like a freakishly athletic person, and I wasn't. And he was so patient, always trying to teach me how to do backflips, teach me
Yeah.
how to, and a skateboard, and I just never could. And he was like, "No, you must be able to do this," and I just was like, "Wrong, sir."
Yeah.
But he was wonderful. He was a funny, charming, extremely handsome, just wonderful person.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you were able to share some memories. And yeah, when you're showing, I know it's not actual footage of the real Max. I know it's the fictional character in the film, but when she's watching the footage of them as kids, it's like I feel like I was watching like the end of Philadelphia, and I'm like, oh, Jonathan Demme, damn you, Chinn, why are you? I'm crying here. But anyway,
Yeah,
it's great as
yeah. Those
tribute to him. Yeah.
and those kids are actually siblings in real life. Those kids that are in those home
Oh, cool.
movies, I know,
Awesome.
and they're so cute. And it came from me because when I was a teenager, when my brother was sick, I would just go back and watch home movies and look at photos. That was how I was sort of processing the loss, was by always going back and looking at other memories and other times. And yeah.
Wow, wow. Yes. All right. Well, then, so that was one element that's based on your actual life experience. How much else of the script is because I know the script made the 2020 blacklist. I mean, it was one of the, most anticipated scripts out there, but how many other scenes were actually sort of mirroring real life? Were there that many moments where your mom is calling saying, hey, this could be the last night, and you're sitting there because the protagonist is always put in these positions like, should I go to prom with my friend, should I go out clubbing with my
Yes.
friend,
Yes.
but you don't know if it's the last night with the brother. So how much of that was actually from your life?
Well, I think in the movie, the mother's sort of doing a naughty thing, right? Like, she's alluding to him being about to pass away, and she's not fully telling the truth. So my
The
mother's
first
never
time,
done that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. My mother's never done that. My mother has not done that. My mother's a very, I love my mother. Shout
Mm.
out to moms everywhere. The mother in this movie is a fictional character. But yes, but in terms of the experience of getting the call from the hospice nurses that are like, it's happening tonight, that happened many, many, many times.
Ugh.
So he's in the last few months of his life, and we would get these calls that are like, tonight's the night, you guys should come. And my dad would fly in from California. We would all rush there, and then they'd be like, okay, it looks like it's not happening tonight. So then you go home. And you do this many times, like you get a few of these calls where it seems like now is the time and you really want to be there. Like, we really put pressure on ourselves as a society to be there. I don't know, it's just like a thing. We're just like, I must be there. And so, yeah. And then in my brother's case, the day that he actually, was, the nurses were like, it looks like it might happen. We had so many false alarms. And I was in college at the time and I had a test to take. And I was like, do I go take the test? Do I stay? Do I go? And it was this real dilemma of like, this is a big exam, but who cares?
Right.
Like I have this very important thing to do. So I stayed. I didn't go take the exam and he passed away that afternoon. So, I was able to be there. But it is, it's a tough thing at the end of life.
Wow. So yeah, thankfully you did get to be there in real life, and I know the movie is, you create more drama with the way that yeah. I don't want to spoil it for listeners, but the reveal there's just a shot of an image with no words needed, and it hits you. Well, let's talk. Yeah, let's
And it's okay. I think too, like if a lot of times people can't be there, a lot of
yeah.
times people can't be there for whatever reason, and that's okay too. That's the takeaway, hopefully, is that there's not really a right way to do this whole grief thing. So
Right. And the mom says,
yeah,
he knew all these things you're trying to say. He knew maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Well, let's dish, on a happier note, dish on some of the cast members. Let's start with, the lead actress, the teenage actress, Nico Parker, obviously the daughter of filmmaker Ol
All Parker,
Parker,
yeah.
and then the mom everyone knows from Crash, Tandy, I can never say it, Tandy Newton,
Tandy
Tandy Way
Way,
Newton,
Tandy
Tandy
Way,
Way Newton,
Tandy Way Newton.
Tandy Way
Yeah,
Newton. But anyway, yeah, Nico, I think she debuted in Tim Burton's Dumbo. She's Pedro Pascal's daughter in The Last of Us. The early scenes, she goes early, but yeah, I mean, talk about working with Nico, like a rising star to be sure.
massive. I mean, she is a movie star, man. She is this girl was born a movie star. She's just like you meet her and you're like, oh, that's what a movie star looks like at
Mhm.
young age. Um,
Yeah.
she's amazing. I was aware of her from Dumbo and Google, and I just was looking at the sort of small list of biracial teen actresses, and I honed in on Nico, and I was like, this girl is so beautiful.
Mhm.
And I'm biracial, so I wanted Doris to be biracial, and but it's a small list. There's not, it's not like a huge list of 17-year-olds that are able to emotionally carry a movie.
Yeah.
So I met with her a few years after the script, the script was here and Woody was attached and Laura was attached, and I met with Nico, and I just felt she's so funny and deep and wise beyond her years, and all the things I wanted Doris to come across as somebody who's gone through something really real, and has grown from that and is more mature maybe than her peers. And Nico is, all those things. And then, she does a scene and she just completely blows you away over Zoom. She's just crying and emoting and all the things. And you're just this girl is going to go very, very far. Already has.
Wow.
I mean, she's already has. Yeah, she's How to Train Your
So
Dragon
is it?
now. Yeah,
Yeah, she'll be in the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
yeah.
That's cool. So it was a Zoom audition. I guess all this came together COVID-ish. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it was a Zoom audition, and yeah, 2022 or one, and yeah, and she was in London. I was in LA, so yeah.
that's awesome. Well, you mentioned Laura Linney and Woody Harrelson. Let's take them one at a time. But Laura Linney playing the sort of, super stressed out single mom, widowed mom, caring for, an invalid son basically in hospice. I mean, the level of emotions that she has to play in this movie is ridiculous. But as a screenwriter, I love that you sort of always make her like an active character. She's like, what's that damn ringing sound? And she climbs up and takes the drop ceiling out and is trying to find it. Like she is always like an active character, which is cool. And so talk about sort of just her performance, and every every mother daughter is going to relate to that clash, but with the stakes here so much higher, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these two people, this mother and daughter, they both are experiencing grief in complete opposite ways. I
Mhm.
think that Christine is very activated. Laura Linney's character is very activated. She wants to fix it. She wants to make it perfect. She wants to do everything for him. And I think Doris is numb and detached and wants to deny and run away. And so everything is pulling Doris, Nico's character, away from her brother, and everything's pulling Christine toward. And I think because of that, they're clashing because they both think the other is crazy. They're both
Yeah.
like, you are not grieving him correctly. Which I think is what we do to each other when we're losing somebody. I've literally heard two sisters say to each other, you're not grieving him correctly about their dying brother. So
Wow.
it's like a thing that people do. And I wanted to show all these different forms of grief and the way human beings behave. And I wanted to sort of make it all okay. I really didn't want, Christine, Doris's mother, to be a villain. I wanted the audience to be able to relate to her and empathize with her. I wanted them to be able to relate to Doris and some of her more selfish decisions, and not have it be, that I'm passing judgment as the writer. And hopefully the takeaway at the end of the movie is that, grief is a mother, but it's all okay.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just that you were so lucky to get Laura Linney in that movie because man, it's
She's
some of
incredible.
those scenes, like when she's talking to like the guard outside of the hospital place,
Oh
and
my
she's like,
God.
and she's bawling, and she's like, I have to get I'm going to spend every night with my son. I don't know when
And
the
then
last
she's
night.
also
Oh,
laughing. She's also
yeah,
laughing too. Like there's
yeah,
tears on her face, and then she's laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation.
right.
And it's just so beautiful. No,
Mm,
every choice that Laura Linney makes
yeah,
is just, you just stand behind the monitor and in awe of what how many choices she makes, like
yeah,
everything is a choice. Nothing is
yeah,
what you expect it to be. The moment where she sits down with Doris when Doris is reading this People magazine, and she tells her, Brad and Jen just broke up, and Laura Linney makes the choice to be so invested in Brad and Jen's
right. Yeah,
relationship. That was her choice to be like, oh, they did. Like she's so upset that these people broke up.
yeah,
And that as a choice, you just see Christine's character and you're like, you understand how fun she is and you understand
yeah.
what she was like before this. And I mean, Laura Linney is truly America's sweetheart.
I mean, Truman Show. You can count on me. Mystic River,
Forget
Spinning
it.
Whale,
Forget
Ozark,
it.
Savage.
Forget it. And then
It's just ridiculous.
she's just like so kind, like
Yeah,
beyond kind, like kindest person in the world. And you're like,
yeah,
you don't even need to be kind. You're so talented, you could just be a jerk. And she's like, no,
yeah.
thank you. I'll be kind instead. Yeah.
Powerhouse. Well, I
She's
know we're tight
amazing.
on time, so let's hit Woody Harrelson really quick too. I mean, when I was watching him in this movie, obviously it's a different role, but I was reminded, remember Edge of 17, that great coming of age movie. He sort of played the teacher that the young kid kind of confides in, and here it's a similar role where Doris gets to confide in him. Although this time he's a much different character. He's this religious widower and all that stuff. Teaches her to drive, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, why is Woody just sort of perfect as that um slightly comic relief, but also mentor role?
Yeah, I mean he's mentored so many young male characters too. Like I think that I think he's a perfect mentor in the way that he's not nothing's too precious with him. Like with the way Woody sees the world, his humor, the twinkle in his eye, like he's
Yeah,
just so intelligent, and he sees humor in everything, and that's just how Woody is. So especially in a role like this where it really could have been precious, he really could have been melodramatic or overly precious as the person who's going to guide this young girl through this experience of grief. But instead, he's Woody Harrelson. So everything has so much humor. It's so grounded. And he was who I envisioned when I was writing the script, because I wanted a way into Paul. Paul's on the protest side of the Terry Schiavo case, and I really wanted to find a way into his humanity and his goodness and his core. And so I started thinking about Woody Harrelson, and especially Southern too. I was like, who's like a Southern? Because I pictured the protester, Florida, Southern. And so I started
hmm.
watching Woody Harrelson's movies and interviews, and yeah, he was like my muse throughout the whole thing. So when he read the script and responded to the movie, I was like, this is a dream come true.
That's so cool. You actually envisioned Woody Harrelson in the role, and then you got to cast him. That's awesome. And then of
Manifested
course,
it, yeah.
absolutely. And then of course, Matt Walsh is the teacher, and the list goes on and on. But it's an awesome cast. Well, final seconds. I know we got to run, but just I want to remind our listeners. I think it just premiered at Sundance. What, like last month, less than a month
I
ago,
know.
and then
two
so
weeks
tell
ago,
me
I
about.
know.
Yeah, 2 weeks on January 21st. So, and now
Yeah.
we're recording this. This is gonna air February 9th, when the movie comes on Hulu. So what's that just let's end by that whirlwind of did Searchlight like come up to you at Sundance, or like, because I feel like this came together pretty fast.
Yes, it did. It was truly, there's so many blessings around this movie. I really have felt, I said this at Sundance, I felt overwhelmed with gratitude. I've never felt more grateful in my life. I was being swept up with gratitude.
Yeah.
The Searchlight came on board early on when we were before we shot, when we had Woody and Laura, so they came on board. And then when we submitted it to Sundance, for me, I was just like, I wouldn't even let myself imagine it. I was just like, I can't even think about it,
Yeah.
And one of our producers had been there before with Tangerine, Sean Baker's film, and she was like, no, we're getting in the Sundance, but I was like, this is such a big dream. Like Sundance is like this idea, which was like this massive idea that I was like, I can't even imagine it. And then when, we got in and throughout the whole process, they were so supportive. The reaction to the movie was so positive. Everybody was so kind. It's really been, yeah, it's been like a little bit like, pinch me, because yeah, but I'm trying to just like flow with it and be like, no, things can go well, things can go smooth. I'm not going to get hit by a car. I'm like, is the universe going to balance this out somehow? Like, leave me alone.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. No, many years and many more projects ahead.
Thank
I
you.
didn't realize, Sean Baker's, Tangerine producer, was part of this. That's cool. So
Oh yeah, the Florida
it's
Project
the Florida
producers. Yeah.
Project meets Florida Girls, I guess, right? That was your
Yeah,
show.
so
That
yeah,
was your
they
show.
they yeah, they produced Florida Project. Francesca Silvestri and Kevin Chinoy produced Florida Project and Tangerine, and they live in Florida, and they came on board for this, and they've been so amazing. A big shout out to them. All of our producers have been so amazing. I mean, it really, like, it sounds like I'm lying because I'm just like everyone's amazing, but it
Right.
truly was like everyone was amazing the whole time. And everyone just wanted to tell this story and was so passionate about it, and yeah, I got very, very lucky.
Awesome. Well, everyone
Yeah.
check out the movie. It's called Suncoast. It drops today, Friday, on Hulu. Laura Chinn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.